David 4040 back here with another video, and this time I'm going to go over capital ships and which capital ships are good or useful and how to go about maybe using them and go over basics of what their abilities are. So first off, the general ranking for the order of how good capital ships are is Chimera first, Executrix second. However, you could argue that Executrix is the best capital ship. Home one's generally considered third, and Endurance is generally far back in fourth. Now, Chimera and Executrix are both Empire ships. Home one's a Rebel ship, and Endurance is a Galactic Republic ship. And you want to keep these in mind because each of these ships has synergies with their faction. So let's just dive into each ship real quick and look at them. So Chimera, its character is Grand Admiral Thrawn, and what you want to know about the Chimera and the two important abilities with the Chimera are Art of War and Phylon Beam. One thing you'll want to note about capital ships, you don't use their basics often. So their basics are going to be one of the last things you want to level up. One of the first things you'll always want to level up on a capital ship is going to be the capital ship's unique. And what's important about the unique is they generally provide buffs to all of your ships in the battle. So this with Chimera, that means more critical damage, which is doubled for Empire allies, and more critical chance. So you're more likely to get use out of that extra critical damage, and some stacking tenacity. And reinforcements get critical chance up. So again, the importance behind the unique is these are things that all your allies will generally benefit out of. And the basics are generally not used often, so again, you'll want to save those last for leveling up. Now, the two things that are generally used a lot for a capital ship are going to be these specials. And these specials often give buffs to your side, or generally one special is an AoE and one special buffs your side and helps to heal. Art of War in this case is the healing one for Chimera. It allows an ally to recover 50% health, and then all allies recover 50% health, and gives buffs depending on what type of ship it is. Offense up for attackers, defense up for tanks, and foresight for supports, although generally you'll probably only have attackers and tanks out whenever you use this. And then it also inflicts debuffs on the other side, offense down, which is really nice. When the other side puts up their own Art of War, you can use this to take away their advantage from their offense up. And special ability block and defense down on the tank, counteracting ships that have defense up. So that's nice. And then also, as I said, all ships generally have an AoE, and Tractor Beam in this case is the AoE for Thrawn, and this just deals damage to all enemy and removes some turn meter. And if it didn't remove turn meter, it inflicts speed down. So either way, you're essentially slowing down the enemy, which is super important in ships, because in ships one of the important things is having the speed advantage, and since there's no mods, everyone's basically on an equal footing for this. So Phylon Beam is one way of trying to get that speed advantage. Now the next capital ship is Executrix. Again, you generally will not be using the basic. With Executrix, you'll generally be using its specials, and you also want to note its unique, which here is Victory at All Costs. Victory at All Costs gives offense up per debuff enemy and doubles this for Empire allies. So again, you have that Empire synergy, which means you'll be wanting to look at Empire ships like TIE Advance, TIE Fighter, TIE Reaper, and Gauntlet Starfighter. Um, and then it also allies gain 20% turn meat whenever a ship is destroyed. So that just gives you basically once you start winning the battle, you're going to be getting even more easily winning that battle. And it has very annoying retribution on reinforcements. And which means your reinforcements will be doing a bunch of extra attacks for you. And that is on ships that have that coming in, it can be very annoying. You often want to work around it. But his specials are as follows. First is his buff one, and this one grants 30% turn meter, so it speeds you up, and it grants offense up to everyone. And then Empire allies also get potency up and defense penetration up. So again, you want to look at your Empire allies, and you're going to be getting some. You're going to be getting a lot of extra damage off of offense up, which can help when you battle quickly, especially when you're doing attack heavy teams such as Geonosians. And then his AoE ability is Heavy Ion Cannon. What Heavy Ion Cannon does is it deals damage to everyone, and it inflicts ability block, debuffing them, and it deals more damage to debuffed enemies, and on top of that, has an 8% chance to inflict expose on enemies that are debuffed, which means you'll be able to get more damage output out there. I'll get after we've gone over all the capital ships. I'll just talk about their ultimates and go over what an ultimate is. But let's go over all their AOE's and stuff first. So next is Akbar. Again, home one, third best ship. This is the ship you're going to be wanting to look at for using in light side territory battles. Because he's way better than Executrix and uh, provides better healing and provides some protection up. What he gets that protection up from is his ability down here, Band Together. And whenever an ally attacks out of turn, they gain extra damage for that attack out of turn, and they gain 30% protection up, which is the big one because this is going to give you more survivability. And this is why way back in the day, Akbar used to be one of the number one ships before Chimera came out because of this 30% protection up. And then these bonuses are doubled for Rebel allies. So one of the ships you definitely want to be looking at using with this is Biggs, which is the best tank in the game still, in my opinion. And reinforcements gain advantage for one turn. Um, so you just want to look at a bunch of ships here that are either Rebel ships or give extra attacks out of turn. Akbar himself gives some extra attacks out of turn. One of the things that does it is his AoE, Defiant Volley. It deals special damage to everyone and then also calls some random allies to assist. So his allies will be getting those benefits from Band Together there. And then on top of that, his basic deals physical damage and calls a random ally to assist. This is a basic that you'll be more likely to use just because it comes with some help, and you won't necessarily always want to use his buff ability if you don't have to heal anyone. His heal anyone is dispel all debuffs on a target ally, and then that ally recovers 50% health and protection. You often will want to use this on your tank, and all allies also gain advantage. So you might want to use that. This one more depends on the situation in the battle, which so with Akbar specifically, the basic comes in handy a little bit more. Then finally, you have the endurance, and again, the endurance works well with Galactic Republic ships. So if you have to use the endurance for any reason, try to put some Galactic Republic ships in there. But endurance is not that great of a ship, and you're not going to see it often in the top of the fleet shards at all. You might see it in defense on territory wars because Endurance is more of a defensive capital ship. However, you don't want to be relying on the Endurance often, and I personally would make sure this is the last capital ship you level up. So let's just look at his abilities real quick here. So one thing is allies with protection have extra offense and defense, and this is double for Galactic Republic allies. This can be helpful with um, Clone Sergeant ship because Clone Sergeant will lose that protection slower, and when he's brought in as a reinforcement, he has taunt whenever he has protection. But again, you don't want to be reliant on this. One thing I will note is that Endurance has this Valor mechanic that is brought in on reinforcements and also through one of his other abilities. And what happens with this Valor mechanic is whenever a ship with Valor's hit your capital ship gets 15% turn meter, and the ultimate's ability cooldown is reduced, and he has a fairly high ultimate cooldown, which is one of the things that makes it worse of a ship. Now to get onto his other abilities, one of them here is Hold Fast, where a target ally recovers 100% protection, gains taunt and critical hit immunity for 2 turns. The 100% protection and critical hit immunity is pretty decent, though it feels underwhelming compared to what some of the other capital ships do, as we went over earlier. And the taunt, you probably don't want to put. You're not going to want to put a taunt on all of your ships, and so I don't know how helpful that taunt really is. So I I think that hurts the ability more because you might want to heal a ship that's low on health and protection, but the taunt just gets in the way. It means it's going to die more faster. So that's one of the things that hurts the ship. And then one of the other things here is its AoE, Fortune Favors the Bold. And I often compare this, at least when I'm playing myself, it's very similar in some respects to um, Boba Fett's AoE that attacks ships with target lock. So this deals physical damage to the target enemy and all enemies affected by target lock, exactly like Boba Fett's first AoE. And then this ability's cooldown is reduced by 1 for each enemy struck, so you'll be able to do it quicker the more enemies that have target lock, so that's nice. And then Valor grant the Endurance 15% turn meter and reduce its ultimate ability cooldown by in depth. It grants all allies Valor as well. The Valor mechanic might be anyhow. You get more of the Valor out of it, and again, though he has a decently high cooldown on it, and unlike some of the other ultimates, which we'll go over in a second, it doesn't do as much. So let's start talking about ultimates. So what an ultimate is it's essentially, for most capital ships, it's a winning or near winning condition in a battle where you're able to easily take out the remaining enemy ships. Um, so with Chimera, his ultimate is strategic dominance, and it instantly kills one enemy, then deals 40% damage of the max health to enemies, and then it heals one of your ships completely and gives it a turn. This is really nice and often is the winning condition because the other team only has one ship left, and your ship, or one of your ships that's left, has low health. So you're going to get the win out of this. If not, you'll extremely weaken the other team and be able to take them out with your couple remaining ships before they're able to get their ultimate off. Now, strategic dominance, unlike Executrix ultimate, isn't as much of a winning condition. With the Executrix, Imperial Assault, by in battle, which is the ultimate here, is basically a winning condition because it deals damage up to 12 times to random targets, and this does a ton of damage and often completely defeats the other side. Also stuns target locked enemies, although honestly, if you're able to even get through this, you're probably dead or you happen to have a bunch of ships out that were able to soak up the damage. Uh, those are your only way of getting through this is having ships, at least 3 ships, if not more, out that are able to soak up the damage. Otherwise, you're not going to live through this, and you might not have anyone target locked often. So this target lock is often more beginning in the round, but I won't worry about that part. It's just more you want to survive the onslaught that comes out of Imperial Assault. And that's why these Chimera and Executrix are particularly good, is because their ultimates basically immediately kill at least 1 or 2 ships. Um, Unlike Home 1 and Endurance. Home 1 has a decent ultimate. His ultimate here is Master Plan, which, if you know the actual character for Akbar, he has a buff that allows the character to immediately go again and resetting all cooldowns. This is essentially the same for that, except for every single character gets this, and every single character gets to use it at least once. So every character, basically, when it takes a turn, takes 2 immediate turns, and one of those turns they'll have access to all of its abilities. So this is really nice. You just have to make sure you're actually getting turns out of those characters. Um, Now here it says all allies gain 100% turn meter, and that buff, for that you have to have Master Plan leveled up all the way. So you'd probably want to work on that. Um, but overall, this is a decent one. I wouldn't put it down at all. But unlike the Endurance, uh, it's probably still better than the Endurance. The Endurance, theirs is, I believe, Convergence. Yeah, Convergence has a 15 turn cooldown, which is awfully high. And all allies gain protection up for 2 turns, which can't be prevented or dispelled, and retribution for 2 turns. So essentially, it makes your side really hard to kill for like a turn or two, and that that's it. And you get retribution, so you're dealing more damage. Um, Again, I don't see the ship come out a lot, but I would say this is often more annoying than preventing you from actually winning the battle. Because again, you're gonna have your ultimate will probably be either Thrawn's or Executrix's, which is dealing a lot of damage and immediately kills at least 1 ship in the case of Thrawn. So Endurance just doesn't hold up comparatively, and it probably needs to be reworked, even though it's been reworked a couple times. Um, so again, Chimera and Executrix have Empire synergies. Home 1 has Rebel synergies and Endurance Galactic Republic synergies. And just the general teams you'll see is Executrix or Home 1 will generally be Geonosian fleets, while Chimera nowadays is currently generally your Biggs, TIE Advanced, and TIE Fighter fleets that are within the meta. And the Endurance really doesn't have a meta. You just kind of, if you do use it, you want to throw in Galactic Republic ships just because it has some minor synergies with them. But ultimately, you probably want to use Executrix on defense in territory wars, and you want to have both Chimera and Executrix ready for territory battles, since there's a point to get guild event currency with Chimera. You want to have both of those. You want to have Home 1 for territory battles as well. You can kind of just ignore Endurance until you have all 3 of these leveled up, then just level up Endurance for the fun of it. Basically, it is probably helpful to have Endurance for territory wars in case you ever attack ships. But since I know CMP, Cover Me Porkins, doesn't often attack ships in that case, on attack and territory wars, so we probably should not be focusing on getting the endurance. And I would not suggest using the endurance if we have other options to be putting on defense. I hope everyone enjoyed and learned from this overview of capital ships within the game. And thanks for listening. David 4040 out.